Welcome to Tune In Tuesdays with the America First podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Azzarelli, and we have the famous Fred Rubino right next to us. Fred.
Those are gang signs I'm flashing. I'm in a Republican gang.
We need some gang signs today. We have some great topics to talk about, although it feels like a cartel has been upon us this past week, especially. So we're going to bring you all that news. Here we go. Let's start, Fred.
Okay.
G7.
Wasn't it the G8 last year?
I think it was, actually.
was.
Somebody was kicked off.
We're losing people.
We're losing people in the G7.
G.
I mean, although I don't know, it could have been, Biden was wandering around, so maybe the other person was like his backup.
They can't count that good, the Democrats, because Biden got all the votes. He got more votes than anybody. What'd you say, my mic?
We can't hear you, Fred. Come on.
They said my mic. They wish my mic wasn't on. That's what they do. See, it's wishful thinking. You see, the Democrats are no good with numbers.
No.
They're always fudging the numbers. Remember Cuomo? He didn't kill anybody. Then it was 15,000. Then it was 20. Then it was back to. So it could have been the G8 or the G7. But I think it's a big difference this year between the last year and this year.
Absolutely. The topics discussed under Biden still centered around this nonsense marketing of climate crisis and the need for biodiversity. It was a very globalist agenda, even though the G7 and its origins kind of start at that globalist level anyway 50 years ago. But we really saw it pronounced with Biden's visit. When it came down to Trump, he wouldn't even come to the meeting if these were going to remain the topics.
I don't blame him. Last year was about Africa. Mm-hmm. That's what a lot of countries want to be, more like Africa. Let's close our factories down. Let's contaminate our water. Let's be more like Africa.
No.
Africa's the worst continent. Mm-hmm. And we have Antarctica as a continent. Mm-hmm. Africa is the worst continent. They wanted to be more like Africa. It is the worst idea ever.
Yeah. And there was definitely struggles there. And I think the focus on Africa was probably more to do with their mineral reserves, because that seems to be a hot topic running through what we're dealing with now, also with the Ukraine and Iran. But what we saw was they said they were going to focus on action on poverty. I think we're all getting a little tired that when Biden was there at the G7, it was action on poverty. What is the problem with resolving the poverty? They just want to keep this problem going and going when they have plenty of resources.
Well, the industrialized countries can cure their own poverty. Mm-hmm. Every country can cure their own poverty.
Right.
When Africa has poverty, we send money, and then the warlords take it. They buy machine guns and rice, and they feed their own military. You could cure your own poverty. This year, we could cure our own poverty by getting rid of all of the illegal that we spend billions of dollars on. Right. Then give it to the real people who need it, who are the impoverished in the city. But Africa is always impoverished. You cannot help these countries in Africa unless you change their governments. Right. You give them money, you give them farming equipment, and they do nothing with it. It's still warlords doing stuff. But last year's was climate change in Africa. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's always going to be hot in Africa. Here's a news flash. It's always going to be hot in Africa. You jackasses.
Yeah, that was interesting as well. The whole climate crisis thing continues to plague us and fearmonger on people. And it is very concerning because we were just talking about this earlier. We remember when we were younger, June, it was 85 in the middle of June.
Yes.
Teachers had to open their windows. Kids were sweating. Now, what do we have? What, 60, 65 today? It just won't warm up. Al Gore, I want to reach out. Al, what happened to global warming? I thought we were going to have more beaches.
I think what they do, this is how they swing it. we're going to all die because it's going to be 150 degrees. Then it gets cold, and everybody's freezing, and they go, the pollution is causing it to be too cold. So we have to now set up all of these scam companies for pollution control. That was another thing last year in Africa. For pollution, they wanted to address pollution. There's one factory in Africa.
Right. Exactly. And then we see, right, what's going on with South Africa. Trump is making the effort to bring in those farmers who actually need to be considered the refugees. They're being tortured, murdered in South Africa. They are killing the farmers.
Yeah.
It doesn't, again, when you go back to the government in Africa that doesn't act on common sense for their people. You're crying poverty, and yet you're killing your farmers.
Isn't Africa supposed to be very fertile? Mm-hmm. How could they be starving in Africa? There's only one answer. Their governments.
Right.
You know what it is? They're still tribal.
Right.
They still have warlords. Every country has a couple of warlords. They run things, and you'll never get anything done. There's a few. The countries that are not feudal like that are doing better. Are doing better. All the top of Africa, all the Arab countries in Africa, Tunisia and stuff, they're doing fantastic. They don't show up at these meetings. No. They're like, we're fine. We'll be fine.
They don't want to know about it.
They don't want to know.
But here, this year, however, Trump was reluctant to even attend the G7. It was a possibility he wasn't going to attend until the topics were changed. It was held in Canada, and sure enough, it was a completely different agenda this year. So they spoke about instead global economic outlooks, energy security, critical mineral supply chains, and AI adoption, as well as international peace and security. These are topics that truly impact the world from the leading 7 countries.
Right, and they're talking about international peace.
Right.
There's countries that are lobbing thousands of rockets into Israel as we speak.
Right.
But let's just sit down and talk about it when you could actually do something about it. It's one country lobbing thousands and thousands of missiles. Also, the minerals.
Yeah.
And that's all of our northern United States, Minnesota, and all up there. It's all mining. Mm-hmm. And that's where we border Canada.
Right.
So Canada needs to sit down and step up their mining. Right. They have a socialist agenda, too.
Right.
Less mining, less pollution, more suffering.
Right, exactly. Not using our resources appropriately. And so this has become a major crisis, especially with what is going on right now with Israel and Iran. So I want to talk about world peace, yet you allowed Iran to gather troves of Ukrainium and act like you didn't see what was going on. Trump enters the scene and he flat out says, no, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And people are saying, but no, Tulsi Gabbard said they weren't building nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
However, Tulsi did point out the huge new Ukrainium storages.
Yeah, it's a nightmare, but I think the rest of the Muslim world, there's that whole thing, Sunni and Shiite, and I believe Iran is one of them,
right,
and the rest of the Muslim world is the other. Mm-hmm. So once you go against Iran and say, we're going to shut them down, because they're the big terror organization, them and China. Right. They fund the most terrorism in the world. Once you shut down Iran, the Middle East will flourish like never before. Mm-hmm. You know, and Iran will flourish because I seen a video that there was people chanting in Iran out their windows, death to the Ayatollah, mm-hmm, which is not a good plan.
No.
The people who are yelling, death to the Ayatollah, their wives are behind them going, shut up, close the window, we're going to get killed. But I think this is the greatest thing to get rid of the leadership of Iran. And every Muslim country that is not run by Ayatollahs and run by the strict Shia law, doing great.
No.
They're doing fine. They're driving Mercedes. They're doing everything that every rich country wants to do.
Right.
Once we get rid of them, that's the great. And Trump's the only one with balls enough to do it.
Yeah.
He backed Israel. Mm-hmm. Nobody else did.
Right.
Biden didn't like it. Obama hated
yeah.
Israel.
Yeah, no, absolutely 100%. And so it remains to be seen now where this is going to go, but we are hoping that there can be a resolve. And it's true. It would be wonderful if Muslim nations weren't always represented in this aggressive, hostile, quote unquote, terror type of manner when they do have a very peaceful asset to their religion as well. But we're moving on, and just know also in the G7 before we end, here's one interesting topic, is that the other countries also decided, by the way, to start cutting back on their aid the same way that Trump has. So that became a bit of a controversy because everybody wants their aid.
And Trump's a world leader.
He's a world leader. We're going to talk about that when we come back. We have Steph Legit zooming in.
I told you this was crazy. I'm out of here. No dice. Free stuff for all. I could be such a downer.
For you, bow to the master staff. Come here. Oh my God, this guy's from Jersey.
Hi, how you doing? Fuck up my stage.
I'm pretty sure I'm a woman.
No, you're not, Steve. Oh! Oh!
Wet on my side. Now instead of a poke, you're getting a smack. What have I done?
My name is Elena Ruseva, aka Megalangela. Please check my art at www.megalangela.vip.
It's me, Joe the Box, the America First Warehouse. No, it's the America First Motor Club here in Ronkonkoma, 9013th Avenue. Sunday morning, we're opening up 9 a.m. Beautiful artwork from Nelson Medina. We just passed him over there. We're coming in Sunday at 9 a.m. hot. We're going to raise some money for our veterans. The event is free. You make some donations, buy a hamburger. There will be food, plenty of it. We love this country. Congratulations, President Trump. Congratulations to our country. One nation, under God. Sunday morning.
Are you a musician, comedian, actor, filmmaker, or artist who stands for traditional American values? Do you believe in the preservation of our nation, our culture, and our freedoms? If you share our passion for America and want to use your talents to make a difference, we want to hear from you. Our mission is clear. Through the arts, we uphold the principles of freedom, faith, family, and the American spirit. It's time to step up to the mic and make your voices heard. So contact us at AmericanConservativeArtists.com.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine. We wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed because there is nothing out there like it. We give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
Welcome back, the America First podcast here on June 17, 2025.
This just in, more breaking news. It's still hot in Africa and cold in Alaska. Okay, so that's the climate. There's the climate update from Al Gore.
We have news flashes from Fred. Stay tuned. More to come on that. He'll keep you updated on the heat in Africa.
Yes, and they think it might be wet in the ocean.
Oh, darn it. So we have Stephanie Legit with us, zooming in, our dear friend. She's back again to talk to us about what is happening in New York's mayoral race. This is huge to our audience because, New York City is the third largest city in the world. And what happens here really does impact not only New York State, but sets a precedent for the rest of our country. Steph, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me today, Lisa. Fred, good to see you.
Same here. Great to see you.
Stephanie herself ran her race for assemblyperson. She also does major work with election auditing and also takes a view at how voters get out to vote. So, Stephanie, we really want your input today on what is taking place. We know that Mayor Adams, unfortunately, doesn't even seem to be getting any talk. And the two that are really focused on are former disgraced Mayor Cuomo and the socialist candidate. Governor, former disgraced governor. Let's not call him a mayor. Yeah, got ahead of myself there.
That's true, but disgrace. The key word is disgraced.
That will stand.
So, former Governor Cuomo and Mamdani as the two front runners. Stephanie, can you talk to us about this?
Correct. The reason you're not hearing much from Mayor Eric Adams is because he is on the independent line. He withdrew from the Democrat line and only put himself on as an independent so that he's guaranteed to be on the ballot for November. So he's on the ballot November, as is Jim Walden and Curtis Lewa on the Republican ticket and Irene Estrada on the conservative ticket. There may be a few others. But former disgraced Governor Cuomo had announced his candidacy. Oops, excuse me. Sorry, just had a call coming in. Council member Mamdani, who calls himself a renowned socialist, but his policies, when you dig in deep, are communist policies. He wants government to own supermarkets. He wants free bus fare. But they're both talking about making lives better for the middle class because they understand the plight of the New York City person who is struggling to put food on the table, pay their rent, have a cable bill paid on time, and to be able to afford a car. And if you can't, an Uber, or if you can't, maybe scrape together the money to get on a bus because everything in New York City has become expensive. Food as the main driver of that. And this is due to the shutdowns that we had in 2020 that were extended. And they're not paying attention to the energy prices and the energy costs that add to supermarkets having to pay double the Con Ed bill that we're all facing because of the policies at the state level. So a lot of that is in the mix.
Wow. And it's so true. The fact that Mamdani could come in and appeal to the voters by pushing a free bus fare and other free purchases, or, well, not a free purchase, can't have, but the purchase is going to be on the taxpayer.
You sound like my wife now. It was free. I purchased it, but it was
Never
free.
Someone paid for it. It's free because someone else paid for it.
Right. And we found out, right, on the federal level at USAID, which trickles down into the states and all the nonprofits, that at the end of the day, the taxpayer is paying a hefty price. I was just speaking with a mom yesterday whose children had to move to New Jersey because they just couldn't afford the Long Island lifestyle anymore.
Right.
This was a place where people moved out to when they came home from war.
Right.
The first town developed in Long Island was for the veterans and a way to save money. So it's wild now that the suburbs are unaffordable. And here in the city is where it all starts and stems from and creeps out. And we have Mamdani coming in, making promises that he is going to give free handouts of all sorts. Do you think that could really happen, Stephanie?
It can happen. The recipe for disaster that I've talked about for the last 2 months is low voter turnout in New York City, because you don't have a great number of people registered in party lines. You have a lot of blank registrations, which means that they don't want to align with either party. So you have low voter turnout in the primaries. You have ranked choice voting in New York City. So the people who do come out to vote get 5 tries at getting their candidate over the hurdle. They get to rank who they want. So I sent you a copy of the ballot. You have 11 people on the ballot. And usually it's alphabetical because Mayor Adams won his primary 4 years ago because Adams, A, at the top, Eric Adams. This
Mamdani's at the top of the ballot now.
Mamdani is at the top of the ballot. Make that make sense. His last name is Sohan. His last name is Mamdani. He should be in the middle of the ballot. They're putting him at the top. So is this a little bit of creative ballot creation to help people choose for themselves? Are they just going to rank the top 5 and forget about the bottom 6? It'll be interesting to see what happens.
This is your typical Democratic playbook. Promise everything for free. Every Democrat since the last 40, 50 years has, before, when they ran, everything for free. Free tuition, free everything, whatever it is. Now he's preaching this. But what actually happens is when they get in order to give something for free, you need to tax the middle class. That's where all the money comes in. So you have free buses and trains. You are going to have the middle class pay for it.
Right.
The middle class now is getting taxed to drive into Manhattan. That's all middle class. These are all working class people have to pay all of these free things. They paid for all the illegal immigrants. They paid higher fees for illegal kids to come in and get taught in school.
But it's interesting that you bring that up, though, Fred, because not one of the candidates is talking about the illegal immigration problem that we're paying for in New York City out of our tax dollars. They're not talking about their EBT cards. They're not talking about the hotels. And someone was just in New York City yesterday saying the Roosevelt Hotel is still at capacity, still being rented out by these illegal immigrants. And then we have a shelter in the Bronx, 2,200 men. By themselves, men.
Because it's a money laundering. It's a money laundering scheme. They get money from the federal government to house them, and nobody knows exactly where the money's going. So a lot of people are getting rich off of housing these people. No one's talking about stopping it. No one's talking about stopping the congestion pricing. All they keep doing. Listen, I got a GED. I don't like to brag. So I know a lot about economics. In order to give something for free, you have to get the money from somewhere. The only people who you can get it from are the working middle class.
Correct, because government is not a business and does not in and of itself have a source of income other than taxation. So that's something that people need to remember.
You got it. You have to reward the people who are working and not punish them. Otherwise, you're incentivizing them not to work or to go somewhere else to work.
Correct. They're also avoiding talking about the clean energy issues that have been passed at the state level. They're not talking about abortion at all and how it was passed through Proposal 1 last year and now part of our Constitution. They are keeping their hands clean of any of those issues that have passed at the state level. Bail reform. They want to talk about public safety, but they don't want to talk about, especially former Governor Cuomo, does not want to talk about what his hand was in getting bail reform passed with Carl Hastie, the Speaker of the Assembly. So those issues you will not see them talk about. You will see them with the puffery and the making life better for people. And we're the right candidate to do that for you. So please come vote for me. But at this point, former Governor Cuomo is having a really tough time against Mamdani. It seems that surprisingly, it's the millennials who are very attracted to this man because they have been raised through a school system here in New York City that has applauded a lot of these globalist ideas and tendencies. So this is what we're up against. So I implore everyone, if you have friends and family in the 5 boroughs, please ask them to come out and vote if they're a registered Democrat, to come out and vote and to make sure that they're not ranking Mamdani, because that'll help keep him off of any of the ranking numbers. And, you've got 11 choices there. I don't know how to tell you to vote, but just look at what they're promising and know that they're not going to give you any of it.
Yeah. There are some organizations, I love that you spoke to that, Stephanie. There are some organizations with these millennial groups or even younger, these teen groups, as you point to, that started like Future for Fridays and whatnot, and they are getting out there claiming that Mamdani is the conservation person to choose. And then Cuomo, another group says, no, Cuomo, conservation. He stopped fracking in 2014. It's very interesting that they are deflecting to energy and not to all of the terrible things that have been done in the city and the state of New York. It's wild.
Yeah, he's an environmentalist, yet he let the criminals out. There's no bail. You cannot go into the city. A lot of people go into the city early in the morning to work, and the subways are horrific because they're just full of homeless. They're full of criminals. The streets are full of crazy people there's no bail. That's the environment.
Mm-hmm.
My environment is when I get off the train to go to work and there's hoodlums and murderers walking the streets. It doesn't matter about the environment. Make the environment safe.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind the temperature. Make the environment safe for New Yorkers to go to work and incentivize them to go to work.
Stephanie, what can you tell us to have our voters get out and vote? Is there any sites that you want to suggest closing in 10?
Well, I suppose that they should go to the New York City Board of Elections to see where their early voting site is for the next few days. And then next Tuesday, a week from today, is the primary election in New York State. So check your local BOE.
Wonderful. Thanks for being here, Steph.
Thank
We'll
you for
see
having
you in a
me.
minute.
Take care. Bye.
The Queens Village Republican Club is America's oldest Republican club, founded in 1875. Situated in President Trump's hometown in Queens, New York, we are America First MAGA Republicans, empowering fellow Republicans to get involved in the game of politics at the grassroots level. We host inspiring monthly club meetings on the first Thursday of each month at 8 p.m. For more information, please go to our website at www.qvgop.org.
Corporate transfer, fine professional, moving and storage, and inventory management.
Dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler. Donald Trump's language mirrors this directly.
Well, Hitler was duly elected.
Let's deal with Hitler, okay?
I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that is Mussolini Hitler-like language.
You say Nazi enough times, someone's going to actually have the guts to do it.
Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler.
What percentage of this event happening was due to Donald Trump's rhetoric?
Don't miss Trump next time.
What do you make of the excess deaths?
None of us, not the president, not those hypothetical guys in the smoky rooms fully know what's going on, but we can speak about the unfolding of recent history with certainty.
Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy.
That is not how it works. That is a threat to democracy.
No. No.
You anti-Semitic piece of...
When you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit.
Free fries when you get vaccinated? Vaccination.
Welcome back. It's Lisa Azzarelli and Fred Robino bringing you the America First podcast.
Here's another breaking story.
Breaking story.
Climate change. It is hot in Alabama today and every day. Alabama's been hot since ever, forever.
Since Alabama was created.
Yes,
Since
Alabama.
it was founded.
Let me tell you something. All of these global warming places, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, it's always hot. Make it cooler, and we'll talk about climate change.
They also have amazing ribs in Alabama.
In Alabama?
I just want to say, and really, really.
Wow.
Okay. I just want to say that. All right. So getting back to the topics of the day, we want to take a look at Elise Stefanik and how she recently had the opportunity to question Kathy Hochul. Now, there's some discussion that Stefanik may run for governor in 2026. And if you take a look at this video, we're going to pull up Asset 2. We're going to take a look at how Stefanik questioned Hochul about her own state.
If this is the one that I saw,
brutal.
This is brutal. Who's that guy with the gun?
I don't know. Technical.
Do you know who Sebastian Zepeda Khalil is?
I'm sure you'll tell me there's many cases, whether they're
These are high-profile cases. New Yorkers know about them, and you don't. So let's talk about Sebastian Zepeda Khalil. Do you know who that is?
I don't have the specific details at my disposal, no.
Well, this is an illegal migrant in New York because of your sanctuary state policies. Do you know what crime he committed?
I'm not familiar at this moment.
I bet you're going to be familiar when I remind you. He found a sleeping woman on the subway, lit her on fire, and burned her alive. This is in Kathy Hochul's New York. And as I'm sure you are aware, and I'll remind you, that ICE issued an order to detain this violent criminal, but that was rejected by New York officials due to sanctuary state laws. Now, do you know who Raymond Rojas Basilio is?
I just want to say this. These crimes are horrific.
Because of your sanctuary state policies.
In all of these cases, we would work with ICE to remove them.
You did not in this case. They are walking on the streets because of your policies and your executive order that you signed 3 times.
Wow.
By the way, who does her makeup? Oh, my God. If you want makeup like Kathy Hochul, go to a Cressler's Funeral Parlor on Ocean Avenue because... Oh, my God.
That was pretty bad.
That was bad. And then you come out like you should be crying. Yeah. You should be like, as a woman, when you come out after your makeup is done like that, you should be like your hand in your head. Oh, look what they did to me.
I would imagine since her husband is affiliated with casinos, that she would look more like Sharon Stone, right?
She'd look human, alive.
Not
Maybe
happening.
she could look alive.
Not happening.
How would you like to look today? Alive.
Yeah. Well, she's not alive. I think that she is just a puppet because Kathy, she was just torched by Stefanik and really showing that she is completely out of touch with her executive orders and the laws that have been passed in New York that have been harming, literally harming New Yorkers. And so this is something that we have to understand moving forward. Again, New York, largest student population. New York, 3rd largest city in the world. New York stands as a beacon. And instead, since 2019, when we became a one-party state, we have just declined and declined to the point of, I don't know, give me something, Fred.
It is so amazing that she didn't know anything. That's my job. But let me tell you something. They asked her about 5 of the most horrific crimes that have happened, maybe in the history of New York State. She didn't know anything. She didn't know the victim.
Oh.
She didn't know the perpetrator. Right. She didn't know when or where any of it happened. You're going in front. What was that? In front of
the Senate.
The Senate.
Yep.
You're going in front of the Senate. Look. You go to Staples. You tell your aide, could you write down the 5 biggest things they're going to talk about?
Right.
Look, I have it. I have it right here. Look. Cressler's Funeral Home, Ocean Parkway. Okay? All you have to do is write down a few notes. She couldn't do it.
No.
She didn't write down anything.
And there were major news stories.
Major. I even understand. You're a do-nothing person.
Right.
You're not qualified. Cuomo put you in so that he looks like Einstein compared to,
Right.
anybody. So he put you in there. You look like you're on the spectrum. There's all kinds of things. Write down 5 names. You know what? Write down something. She couldn't talk about anything.
No, it was shameful. And it really shone the spotlight on what goes on behind the scenes. And the voters really come out, in essence, on the platforms. And oftentimes they're emotionally driven. And at this point, what we have is a state, New York State, that is constantly emotionally driven, and we all need to step back and we need to start looking at the actions of these political representatives. Having a one-party state has been brutal. We lost the Senate, the Republicans, in 2019, and there has not been a balance since. No state should really have to endure that, either party. But in this particular case in New York, that makes such an impact all over our country and the world, we really need to focus on the governor's race in 2026. I just want to put that out there to our viewers, that this is a kind of do or die moment for New York in the next governor's race. So we also noticed that the No Kings protests took place.
Yes.
And we have a government in New York. You want to talk about kings? We have a dictatorship going on here. And Randy Weingarten was a major leader in these No Kings protests. You're talking about the leader of the American Federation of Teachers, who was once the leader of the United Federation of Teachers here in New York. She went up the ladder, took over the whole country, and she has been a Democrat sitting in a Democrat seat for 23 years while being a union leader. Strong conflict of interest. We're supposed to be there for the students, and instead she's another one who has been pushing socialism, socialized schools, whole school, whole child community schools, 421 of them already in the boroughs. And then she wants to come out. She's been going to the Ukraine on trips when Biden was in office. What is she doing in the Ukraine? Who knows? And now here she comes along with this No Kings protests, leading the charge on it. It failed miserably, and now she resigns her seat in the DNC.
Yeah, I don't understand the No Kings thing. I mean, we didn't vote for him because we wanted him to be king.
Right.
We want him to be a dictator. Right. See, it should have been a no dictator.
Right.
Let me tell you, I don't know how she has any credibility. No. You know who suffers? This is who suffers under the Democratic rule. The poor inner city, the minorities, they get hammered every time. No one talks about it. If you are somebody like Cuomo and you release these rapists, these sex offenders, and these violent criminals back out onto the street, guess where the majority of them live? In the poor inner cities. So just like it's hard enough that you you're economically depressed. You live in an area that's not a great area. Everything about it is bad. Now you're letting criminals back onto the street. So if your kid was thinking about going to school safely, forget about it. Right. So these are the people who suffer. But in the New York City schools, in most of the inner cities, I think in every school in the inner cities of 4 boroughs in New York, every kid cannot read 2 levels below their grade. Correct. So an 8th grader cannot read at a 6th grade level. How does she have a job?
Right.
She has just decimated the minority community by not teaching, by not doing her job. And those are the people who suffer the most. They can't read. If you can't read, you can't do any of the other topics. So now she steps down, they should pull what she gets as a retirement.
Mm-hmm.
They should say, look, these kids can't read.
Right.
And she's not addressing that.
No. And she's making upwards of $500,000 a year, by the way.
Whoa, I'm available for that job.
Yeah.
Hey, I had a GED.
Right.
Hire me, baby.
As someone in the education system, I can attest that it is atrocious that we've had this going on. And then we have a man who comes out, another deflection. He shoots 2 Democrat senators because they voted against health care for illegals. He had the No Kings protest flyers in his car. There is a lot going on in the Democrat Party that is imploding. And so I think that...
And she was a major player.
She was a major player in it.
And let me tell you something. It's the Catholic schools, they're reading at 8th grade level.
Right.
The Jewish schools, what do they call those Jewish schools?
Oh, yeah.
The Jewish schools. They read.
What is a synagogue?
They're doing math. The Asian kids are going to
yeshivas.
They're going to private school, the Asian kids.
Yes.
And the Indian kids. She has
need
failed the
vouchers.
minorities
Yes.
of the inner cities. She should pay for it.
Yeah. Listen, we're going to come back with the final segment. Stay tuned in. See you in 3.
Corrupt judges, broken families,
Those
families
Jewish
torn
schools.
apart. This is injustice. If you've been wronged by the system, join us. Don't stand alone. Hi, I'm Gary Jacobs, president of Americans for Legal Reform. We're the oldest legal reform group in the United States. The justice system in the United States should be transparent, fair, and open to everybody and accessible.
Try and
Unfortunately,
keep
many
it down
times
up there,
that's not
right?
the case. At Americans for Legal Reform, we are here to help. Join the movement. Visit AmericansForLegalReform.com and help reform the
This is
system
good.
before it fails you.
All right. So
The America First Ultra MAGA Store. For all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. The America First Ultra MAGA Store.
And now they found out that, she was asking for
Welcome,
all her paperwork
everybody,
too, and now they found
to
out
the
that,
Not So
the voting was
Newlywed
off on all
Show,
that here.
where 3
Just
couples
the
are
election
going to
integrity
compete
hearing,
for
and it's
really
still a
great
huge
prizes.
problem.
Okay,
Right.
Donna,
And the
we
Supreme Court's
asked
ignoring
Mike,
it.
who
Everybody just
complained
keeps dismissing
first
the
on your
cases,
honeymoon,
or
you
not
or
willing
him?
to hear
What
the
do I
cases.
think?
Yeah, what do you think?
Are we going to get a fair election?
I think he said.
Mike Lindell is...
Lisa, this ain't the SAT.
Yes.
Just tell us
now,
what.
right?
Yes.
Or
Yes, he
Who
lost.
complained first on the honeymoon?
I'm sure it was
Where did he
me,
lose?
but I have no idea what
Jordan,
I said.
right?
No, it's always
He lost. He
me.
has to pay Eric
What
2.6
celebrity
million. It's not going to impact
Would
the
you
Zillow
pick
company, thank
for a
God, but
Right.
2.6
one-day?
But he lost the case.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for you, not for him.
Matt
About-
Damon.
Rigged election.
Yes, about Dominion voting machines.
Wow. Who do you hate the
But yet
most
at the
on her
same time,
side?
yet now
That
Patrick Patel hands this
rotten
over,
note.
right?
There are so many choices.
He lost the case this week, whatever it
Thank
was, a
you
few days
all,
ago,
and thank you for coming
now
out.
Patrick Patel turns around with this information. What else?
Just go on with that.
Hi, my name is Elena Ruseva, aka Megalangela. Please check my art at www.megalangela.vip.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic
Where's Joe
venue that
today?
you can ever imagine. We wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so
Did he get a position?
relaxed because there is nothing out
There
there
goes that
like
show.
it. We give an opportunity for people to really
But
feel
I
good
told
about
him he
themselves
could
and
get
about this
someone
great
else.
country.
Was it Mark?
We are coming back strong from the most patriotic venue on the planet. Today, we're missing our Joe the Box and our Johnny the Blanket, but we're happy to bring you the great news here from the warehouse that brings you the Patriot spirit. So with you today, we have Fred Rubino, Lisa Azzarelli, and we're happy to keep reporting to you on what's taking place and affecting our lives. Most recently, breaking news, if we can bring up Asset
It's wet in the ocean.
It's wet in the ocean.
Okay.
Is it still hot in Africa?
It's hot in Alabama.
Alabama too. So we have Asset 3. We're going to show you Kash Patel's recent comments regarding some election integrity information. The FBI has located documents which detail alarming allegations relating to the 2020 U.S. election, including allegations of interference by the CCP. Director Kash Patel has said that he immediately declassified the material and turned the documents over to Chairman Grassley for further review. So based on that, that is breaking news, and this has been an ongoing topic, considered a conspiracy theory by the left, saying that those who say that our elections are not safe are wrong and they're lying. But here we go now that Kash Patel is getting to that section of the heavy work, many different topics and areas within the FBI that he has been having to tackle: sex trafficking, fentanyl trafficking, and other drugs. And now he's up to the part where he's looking at the election materials. He finds these materials that now show that the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, has likely interfered in the 2020 election. What are we thinking?
It's no mystery that the 2020 election was fixed. There's no mystery to it. And the sad part is that Mike Lindell, my pillow guy, he just lost a case saying that essentially it was rigged, that the voting machines were rigged, that the software was rigged. We all seen it. We all seen that Trump was winning till 4 a.m, and then all of a sudden 90% of all the votes after 4 a.m. came in. We all seen it. It's sad that he lost that case because everyone knows that that election was rigged. So now, hopefully, maybe he could appeal it and overturn it, because I'm rooting for him. He's a good guy. But you can't have sleepy Joe Biden in his basement. Now we know why they didn't want him to come out and campaign. Because he was mentally deficient. He couldn't campaign. He didn't know where he was. And they rigged the election. I hope that this guy, Kash Patel, comes through with it. I was a little upset with his Epstein list that it didn't come out. So I'm hoping now he actually has the guts to come out and pursue this. And if we remember, that was the reason why January 6th happened, because everyone knew the election was stolen from Donald Trump, and everybody showed up peacefully at the Capitol, and they were protesting, and then, we all know what happened then. Yeah. So this is definitely the right path, and the Chinese are our enemy. We have to shut down. Trump has a great thing. He wants to stop these Chinese nationals coming into our country and being students and taking up space. And what do? They get into our medical field. Right. They get into computers. Right. And then they send it back to China.
Right.
We're at war with China, and we don't know it.
Right. And that's the thing, right? And they call it that secret war, so to speak. But, Fred, when you mentioned the court case with Lindell, what's interesting is that it's perceived as him losing an election integrity case. But actually, the basis of the case was more on defamation. And so Eric Cromer of Dominion had sued him for defamation. So the fact that the Dominion machines may have, been involved, whether the operators of Dominion were aware or not, in transferring data that was then changed at a certain hour of
Right.
the evening still remains to be seen. That
Yeah, they
isn't
didn't prove
argued,
that it
right?
was
Correct.
wrong.
Correct.
They're just suing him because you're giving us a bad name.
Correct. So it's just like the other court cases that everyone tries to say, oh, it was thrown out. No, they weren't. There were other aspects of the cases where the courts refused to hear them, or the case couldn't move forward for a certain reason. Just like Giuliani, again, people say, oh, he tried to fight on election integrity, but really, and that he lost the case, but it was really, again, another defamation case against that mother and her daughter. It had nothing to do with the actual voting and the concern over the manipulation of the voting. That remains to be seen. And we have to hope that what Kash Patel is finding and has handed over to Senator Grassley now goes through the proper channels. Because we had Stephanie Liggio on earlier discussing those voter issues. And even in the primaries taking place for New York mayor, we see that those who came out to vote on day 2 of the primary, early voting, is very different from day 3. But the numbers in each of the 5 boroughs are oddly all more at a certain level. Like, okay, 20% more came out on day 3 than on day 2 in every borough. It's following a weird computerized pattern. And so this is what they're believed to be algorithms within at a very, very top level within these election agencies.
It's very apparent that the biggest threat to this country is our enemy fixing an election, and it's not just happening on the national scale. It happens all of these places. I don't believe for a second that Chicago votes these morons, socialists in. Chicago, the city of Chicago is predominantly black, and every leader that they've had in the last 15, 20 years have done irreputable harm to the black community. There's no way they're coming out to support that. So this is what's happening to our elections. If we could secure our elections, this country would take off like it's never taken off before. You will see Democratic strongholds like New York City and Philly and Chicago and LA turn Republican because that's people are fed up. Mm-hmm. And the people who are fed up the most are the people who are being abused by all of these things. Like I said, the inner city minorities, they're not getting taught in schools. They're having rapists and murderers released into their community. They're defunding the police. Let me release a murderer into your neighborhood, then fire all the police. What? And you're voting for that? Of course they're not voting for that. No. When I work construction, and on election day, I would be like in places in Harlem, across the street from a voting place, and we were there all day. We counted about 50 people went in to vote. We went home. They said, record turnout in Harlem.
Right.
And I said, oh, my God, they're fixing the elections. That's how people like this get in. This guy, Zoran Mamdani, this guy is a Jew hater from day one. He is a socialist. He's promising the world. It is the playbook 100%. But China is our enemy. We have to safeguard ourselves. If it means going back to paper ballots, let's do it.
Let's do it. And Trump tried to put some of those executive orders in place. But of course, we have these interference from these federal judges. And let's face it, we want that to a certain extent. But we didn't see these federal judges stepping up on some of the horrendous things being done under the Biden administration. And that's what has us concerned. They step up for certain times, but not at others, and they interfere at this point. Election integrity is definitely something that we need to get under control. We had so many in New York City alone, when so many voters, right? I think it's something like 8 million voters. But I recall that it was not Bloomberg, de Blasio's election, and it was like only 1 million voter turnout.
Right.
So people become very disenchanted when they are disenfranchised. And we saw that. I think many people, obviously, even the Democrats got fed up in the federal election where we had the when Biden said he wasn't going to be there, Harris or wasn't going to run, he was going to resign from running. Harris was then installed. It wasn't like you had a primary again. So these types of things open up a pathway to, of course, fraud. And then when you have the CCP, who has been working in so many different angles, the Harvard, Trump took away the visas from Harvard because they were stocking up with all of the Chinese student visas. And we knew that the professors at some of these top schools were delivering information back, getting paid to deliver information and materials to the CCP. And then you're right, Fred, we have all of these students coming from China. What are they going to be doing if they're not contributing
Spying.
back? Right.
Listen, the CCP is caught funding the Biden Library. Joe Biden has gotten documented money from the Chinese government in his office in Pennsylvania, in Delaware, all these places. He's gotten the money. Now it comes out that the election's fixed or they were meddling in our elections with China. It doesn't take Matlock to figure out that the Democratic Party is in the pocket of the Chinese government. It's something that you would think, you would read books about this and you would say, can't ever happen.
Right. Well, as we head out for this week, we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. We wish all our graduates and our seniors a happy and healthy graduation summer and in your journeys to college. Thanks for joining us.
I think we're set up. Good job, kid.
Good job. I didn't get to talk about this tonight.
Oh, I forgot.
But it's okay. I think Teresa was okay. Was that okay?